and I was with thousands of other, orbs of consciousness, just other souls, just like me. And we existed together in a state of happiness and comfort and safety.
The whisper before birth, before the first breath, before the first tear, before the world even knows your name, your soul stirs. There is a silence, deep and infinite, where choices are made, not by reason, not by circumstance, but by something older, wiser, and entirely your own. Some call it pre-existence. Plotinus, the philosopher of the soul, whispered that the soul exists before it inhabits flesh, that it carries the memory of a higher realm, a place where purpose and potential are not hidden, but visible if one can be quiet enough to see. Imagine standing in that quiet where time stretches like liquid and every possibility unfolds at once. Here, in that stillness, your soul speaks in whispers, guiding you toward a life it has already begun to sketch. Stories of children remembering their lives before birth are more than fairy tales. Across continents and cultures, mystics and researchers alike have recorded accounts of toddlers recounting details no one could know. Names of distant relatives, places they had never visited, even conversations from a world they had yet to inhabit. Some children cry out for parents who do not yet exist, describe homes they have never lived in, or speak of the events that later unfold exactly as remembered. These glimpses suggest that our consciousness is not bound by the womb, that identity and intention exist independently of the physical form, floating, choosing, and preparing. It is not eerie, it is sacred, like a spark of light that travels before the body is ready to hold it. In Hinduism and Buddhism, this idea takes shape in the concept of karma and reincarnation. Souls are not passive. They return to the cycle of life carrying the weight of previous experiences and the promise of future lessons. Each life is an opportunity to learn, to balance, to grow. The hardships, the joys, the people we meet, even the fleeting moments of beauty, they are not accidents, they are carefully chosen. A soul may seek the challenge of a difficult relationship, the humility of repeated failure, or the exhilaration of unexpected triumph, all in pursuit of evolution. It is a delicate choreography, where cause and consequence extend beyond a single lifetime, weaving a story that only the soul can fully read. And yet not all choices are made with certainty. There is an element of curiosity, of adventure in the pre-birth planning. Souls sometimes select paths that feel daunting or mysterious, drawn not to comfort but to possibility. In that infinite space before life, one might feel both exhilaration and hesitation, an echo of fear, a brush of longing. It is a moment of freedom unlike any other, where destiny is both written and yet fluid, waiting to be danced upon by the unfolding self. In this way, the soul approaches life as both traveller and architect, designing a map and yet ready to explore its twists and hidden turns. Even in everyday life, signs of this pre-birth conversation appear. A sudden affinity for a stranger, an inexplicable fear, a fascination with a time or place that should feel foreign. All hint at choices made long before you arrived. The soul, aware and discerning, leaves breadcrumbs for the waking consciousness to follow. Sometimes these breadcrumbs arrive as dreams, as intuition, or as fleeting impressions that linger in the quiet spaces between thought. Other times they manifest in the synchronicities of daily life, moments so precise and uncanny they feel orchestrated, yet natural. It is a comfort to know that life is not arbitrary. Even when pain arrives unexpectedly, even when loss shatters expectations, there is a hidden wisdom beneath the surface. The soul, in its pre-birth deliberations, chooses not only what is learned, but also who will walk beside you, sometimes as guides, sometimes as mirrors of your own growth. Each encounter, each challenge, each fleeting moment of joy or grief is a brushstroke in a canvas that begins long before the first heartbeat and continues to evolve with every conscious choice. The whisper before birth is gentle but persistent. It reminds us that beneath the chaos of life, there is intention. Beneath the surprise, there is a plan. And beneath the fleeting, there is depth. A quiet knowledge that the journey has been chosen, that every step is part of a design far greater than the mind alone can perceive. In that knowledge, the soul carries both freedom and responsibility, a dual flame that guides each life as it begins its dance through the physical world, pointing toward the choices yet to be made. And as the soul steps closer to the threshold of incarnation, it encounters the first of many lessons that will shape the path it has drawn for itself, ready to unfold in the form of challenges, relationships, and the subtle guiding signs of a life pre-selected in the silence before birth. The soul's map. Life, once entered, feels unpredictable, yet beneath the surface of chance, beneath the flurry of daily choices and unexpected events, there is a hidden structure. Souls, it seems, carry a map, not a rigid blueprint, but a tapestry of intentions carefully plotted in the quiet before birth. Each thread represents a lesson to be learned, a relationship to be encountered, a challenge to be faced. And though the path winds and curves, often appearing accidental, each turn has been anticipated by the consciousness that chose to step into this life. Consider the parable of the wise merchant, who once stood at the crossroads of many bustling markets. Each road was risky, lined with uncertainty, some offering immediate gain, others demanding patience and sacrifice. The merchant chose not for comfort, not for safety, but for the path that promised the greatest growth. Along the way he would stumble, lose coins, and face storms that tested his resolve. Yet each loss was a teacher, each success a reflection of careful discernment. In much the same way, souls select paths that may seem perplexing from the outside, yet are perfectly aligned with the refinement of the inner self. Modern studies of pre-birth recollections and near-death experiences suggest that this map is more than metaphor. Children who recall lives they have not yet lived often describe vivid details of events, people, and lessons that later manifest in reality. Near-death survivors frequently recount experiences of reviewing their lives, sensing patterns, and understanding the purpose behind moments once thought trivial or painful. These glimpses imply that consciousness is not confined to the present, that the soul navigates across layers of time, aware of both consequence and potential, carefully weighing the impact of each choice it will make. Journeys mapped by the soul are not solely about hardship or triumph, they are about alignment. Some lessons come wrapped in joy, in moments of connection, or the sudden clarity of a decision that feels exactly right. Others are cloaked in struggle, demanding patience, humility, or courage. The map is nuanced. It balances light and shadow, weaving hardship with ease, sorrow with delight, creating a landscape where growth emerges from every experience. Souls seem to know that the weight of the journey, not just its pleasures, shapes understanding. Relationships too are placed along the map with care. The parents who greet a newborn, the siblings who will irritate and inspire, the friends who arrive and depart. These connections are seldom accidental. Each is chosen as part of the path, a marker along the journey, a mirror reflecting aspects of the self the soul intends to meet, understand, and transform. Just as the wise merchant relies on companions to navigate the markets, the soul selects those who will guide, challenge, and teach, ensuring that growth is never solitary, even if moments of solitude feel necessary. The decisions the soul makes before birth do not negate free will, though. Rather, they interact with it like a compass guiding a traveller through fog. Choices in life are influenced, yet not dictated by pre-birth intentions. A missed opportunity, a sudden change, a turn away from what feels certain, all are part of the living map, allowing room for discovery, adaptation, and learning. It is a dynamic design, not a static plan, where the soul balances foresight with the fluidity of human experience. Patterns emerge when we look closely, the subtle signals that something is significant, that a choice or encounter is part of the prearranged journey. Synchronicities, repeated motifs, and intense feelings of recognition often mark the path, offering a quiet reminder of the soul's guidance. Psychological research into children's memories and near-death experiences repeatedly highlights these markers: intuitive nudges, inexplicable knowledge, the sense that life is not random but orchestrated by an intelligence that predates our first breath. These signs are threads of the map becoming visible, guiding the conscious self toward the lessons already chosen. Even the challenges that feel most unbearable serve a purpose within the map. Illness, loss, betrayal. These are not punishments, but signposts, deliberately selected for their capacity to expand awareness, cultivate empathy, and strengthen resilience. Like the wise merchant facing a sudden storm in a foreign market, the soul recognizes that moments of upheaval often reveal the depth of one's character and the clarity of one's intent. Each trial is a twist in the road, chosen to illuminate aspects of the self that would otherwise remain hidden. The soul's map is vast, intricate, and luminous, yet its most important lessons are often found in the spaces between action and reflection, in moments of quiet noticing, when the mind stills enough to sense the pattern beneath life's seeming randomness. It is here, in these subtle currents, that the next layer of understanding begins to unfold, the way free will, circumstance, and intention meet, shaping a journey both guided and alive. With destiny's threads woven into the fabric of daily life, the questions naturally arise. How much control do we truly hold? And where does choice end while the map continues to guide the steps of the soul along the road ahead? Why we face what feels impossible. Some lessons arrive like a thunderclap, sudden and jarring, leaving us questioning the fairness of life itself. These are not accidents. The soul, in its pre-birth deliberations, often chooses what feels unbearable, not to punish, but to awaken. Within the shadows of these experiences, there is a hidden curriculum, a design that asks us to confront parts of ourselves we might otherwise ignore. Carl Jung called this process shadow work, the courageous act of facing the unconscious, the traits, fears, and desires we tend to hide from even ourselves. It is in the fire of what feels impossible that the soul carves depth into the being, shaping resilience, empathy, and self-awareness. Pain can feel isolating. Loss, betrayal, illness. They arrive with an intensity that seems disproportionate to our capacity to endure. And yet, in many African traditions, there is a belief that ancestral guidance shapes these trials. The elders, the spirits of those who came before, provide unseen direction, nudging the soul toward the lessons it has chosen to learn. What feels chaotic is often orchestrated. What feels random is deliberately placed, a dialogue between the living self and the lineage that whispers wisdom into life's turmoil. Recognizing this transforms suffering from meaningless suffering into a teacher's hand, guiding the spirit through its appointed course. Even the smallest challenges can carry profound significance. A sudden job loss, a fractured friendship, a long-standing habit that refuses to break. These are the brushstrokes on the soul's canvas. Each struggle is a reflection of what the soul intended to encounter, a checkpoint for growth, a mirror revealing unacknowledged truths. While the map shows the paths, it is the trials that demand movement, asking not only for endurance but for understanding, for introspection, for courage to meet what resides within. Many of these trials are intertwined with the people we meet. Difficult relationships, recurring conflicts, or encounters with strangers can feel like obstacles, yet each is often chosen in advance by the soul to serve a purpose. The friend who betrays, the mentor who disappoints, the partner who challenges, all are mirrors of hidden parts of ourselves, opportunities to integrate what has been shadowed. Jung suggested that ignoring these shadows allows them to grow unseen, creating patterns that repeat until addressed. Life's impossible moments are invitations to step into awareness, to reconcile the unconscious with the conscious, and to reclaim pieces of the self that were once scattered. Often, the moments that unsettle us most reveal hidden strengths, aspects of the self the soul wanted to meet, but could only recognize through challenge. The intensity of certain experiences is a measure not of cruelty, but of significance. Souls sometimes seek lessons that demand everything of them: emotional endurance, moral courage, and the willingness to surrender control. There is a strange paradox in this. The moments that feel most unbearable often yield the greatest clarity and the deepest transformation. African spiritual traditions describe this as a rite of passage, where the community, ancestors, and the self converge to initiate growth that cannot occur in ease. The soul, in its wisdom, selects hardship as a path toward wholeness. Even repetitive hardships carry subtle variations, each designed to refine understanding and deepen awareness, like a teacher repeating lessons with different methods until comprehension arises. Understanding why we face these trials requires a shift in perspective. Life is rarely about avoiding pain. It is about navigating it with awareness. Each challenge carries a seed of insight, a chance to perceive the hidden intention beneath events that initially appear meaningless. Shadows are not enemies. They are signposts. They point toward the aspects of character, the emotional landscapes, and the relational patterns that the soul chose to explore. This subtle guidance transforms adversity into a mirror, reflecting lessons already written in the quiet space before birth. Acknowledging these patterns allows us to see life as a dialogue between the soul and circumstance, where even suffering becomes a language of growth. Even when despair seems overwhelming, the soul is never passive. It has chosen companions, circumstances, and catalysts to help traverse these trials. Support can come as guidance in dreams, sudden inspiration, or encounters that feel synchronistic. It can also emerge in subtle resilience, in moments when the human spirit discovers depths it did not know it possessed. The soul orchestrates experiences that may initially feel cruel, yet each is measured to teach, to expand, and to illuminate. When trials unfold, the people who enter our lives begin to reflect not only our struggles, but the lessons our souls have chosen to learn. Relationships as mirrors. Several encounters feel instantaneous, as if two souls recognize each other across space and time. We call them chance meetings, but often they are not chance at all. The people who cross our path may be echoes of our own lessons, mirrors reflecting what we need to see. Difficult relationships, recurring friendships, even strangers who leave a lasting impression. Each is selected by the soul to reveal hidden truths, to guide, or to challenge. Life becomes a series of reflections where the people around us hold up the mirror, showing both the beauty and the shadows within. Imagine the story of two travelers on separate roads who meet repeatedly over years. Each encounter is different. Once a brief exchange, then a shared journey. Later a conflict that teaches patience or forgiveness. Though they may not realize it, each meeting is purposeful, a deliberate choreography of lessons. In life, these repeated intersections are often karmic. The soul arranges the paths so that encounters recur, sometimes in subtle ways, until the wisdom embedded in them is understood and integrated. Karma, as Buddhism teaches, is not a ledger of punishment or reward. It is the flow of cause and consequence, the interconnected web of actions across lifetimes. Relationships are the threads of that web, pulling us toward growth and understanding. A person who challenges us may reflect unresolved patterns from past lives, an opportunity to break cycles and release what no longer serves the soul. Others appear to encourage, to uplift, or to teach patience and empathy. In each case, the connection is intentional, a part of the soul's blueprint that operates on both visible and invisible levels. Even mundane interactions can carry the weight of unseen intention. The co-worker who irritates, the neighbour who surprises with kindness, the friend who leaves unexpectedly. These moments are not trivial. Each encounter contains a seed of insight, a reflection designed to illuminate a particular facet of the self. When we begin to notice the patterns, we start to see that relationships are not only about companionship or conflict, they are a sacred language, the way the soul communicates lessons through the lives of others. Some relationships feel like mirrors because they reveal what we deny in ourselves. A partner who triggers anger may be reflecting unresolved fear. A friend who abandons may mirror unacknowledged insecurity. Jung suggested that the unconscious expresses itself in the world through projection, and the people we meet often carry those projections for us to recognize. By observing reactions, by witnessing the dynamics, we gain access to the inner terrain that the soul intended us to explore. Some relationships feel magnetic, pulling us toward another person with inexplicable familiarity. Soulmates, in this sense, are not only romantic, they are teachers, catalysts, companions along the path. Their presence often coincides with critical periods of transformation, moments when the soul has prearranged lessons that require interaction with another consciousness. The magnetic pull is subtle but insistent, a quiet reminder of the interconnectedness of all beings and the patterns that extend beyond a single lifetime. Even endings carry intention. Departures, whether sudden or gradual, are as purposeful as meetings. They allow space for reflection, for learning, for stepping into the next stage of growth. Every relationship, then, is a reflection of a journey, an opportunity to recognize the hidden structure guiding our encounters. The soul places the people it needs along the path, even when separation or conflict seems painful or inexplicable. These moments are not detours. They are markers on the map showing where attention, healing, and integration are required. The more we perceive these connections, the more life begins to feel like a dance rather than a series of accidents. Each person becomes a teacher, a mirror, a guide, helping the soul navigate lessons chosen before birth. Patterns emerge, subtle repetitions that hint at purpose, nudging us to see beyond surface events into the web of intentional design. As the soul weaves its lessons into the fabric of existence, we start to understand that relationships are not merely companions or challenges, they are conduits for the consciousness we came to cultivate. Upon recognizing our reflections in others, the next question naturally arises. What does it mean when the soul's design intersects with our own choices, and how do we navigate the freedom within these carefully orchestrated encounters? The role of free will. Even when a path seems set, humans are never without choice. The soul may sketch the broad strokes, outlining challenges, encounters, and lessons, but the details remain fluid, shaped by the decisions made along the way. Aristotle described this as the interplay between potentiality and action, the difference between what is possible and what is realized. Life is full of moments where the potential of the soul meets the conscious choice of the self, and it is in these intersections that growth is truly forged. Some choices feel monumental, others almost invisible. The way we respond to a minor insult, the decision to trust someone again, the courage to follow a calling despite fear, each is a brushstroke on the canvas of destiny. While the soul provides the map, free will is the hand that colours it in, sometimes with unexpected shades. Spiritual traditions speak of guides or angels present before birth, whispering advice, signalling potential paths, yet never forcing the hand. These presences suggest that guidance exists, but the act of living remains entirely ours. Responsibility is inseparable from freedom. Each decision carries weight, each choice resonates, sending ripples through relationships, circumstances, and even the unseen layers of karma. A single action can redirect a journey, revealing new lessons or easing trials that once seemed inevitable. The soul anticipates challenges, yet it does not override the conscious self. It trusts that the individual will navigate the road with discernment, intuition, and sometimes missteps that ultimately deepen understanding. The tension between destiny and choice is subtle, but ever present. We may feel compelled towards certain people, places, or moments, yet the way we move within those encounters is a matter of conscious agency. One could follow fear, resentment, or avoidance, or choose courage, curiosity, and compassion. Both options serve the soul's evolution, though they create vastly different experiences along the way. The key is awareness, the ability to recognize that life is a dialogue between what is planned and what is enacted. Each small act has the potential to light up this dance, pausing before speaking, reflecting before reacting, listening deeply, or choosing empathy in moments of conflict. These are exercises of free will that ripple outward, subtly shaping the course prearranged by the soul. Mystics and near-birth accounts often describe spiritual guides offering insight into these choices, suggesting a delicate balance between instruction and autonomy. It is never about control imposed from above. It is about guidance intertwined with trust, allowing the soul to see itself mirrored in the decisions of its human vessel. Patterns in life reveal the ongoing conversation between choice and destiny. Repeated challenges, recurring relationships, or sudden shifts often present crossroads where conscious decisions carry heightened significance. The soul has designed the landscape, but it is our engagement with it that determines the depth of learning. A choice to face fear rather than flee can transform the trial into a moment of awakening. A decision to embrace love, patience, or understanding can turn tension into clarity. Life constantly invites us to participate, not as passive recipients, but as active co-creators of our journey. Growth emerges when free will aligns with soul intention. It is not about perfection, but about attention, choosing presence over distraction, authenticity over conformity, courage over comfort. The path is never linear. Deviation is not failure, but an opportunity to discover dimensions of self that were previously unseen. Like a painter exploring a canvas, the individual experiments with colour, texture, and shadow, shaping a unique expression of the soul's blueprint. Aristotle's notion of potentiality reminds us that what is latent becomes real only through choice, and the soul's plan remains incomplete without the conscious participation of the self. Unexpected and subtle, Guidance can appear when least anticipated. A fleeting thought, a chance encounter, an intuition that nudges toward a decision, all may serve as signs of alignment, gently reminding us of the paths available. The soul does not erase uncertainty, it creates opportunities for discernment. The ongoing dance between destiny and free will is the arena in which consciousness matures, allowing lessons to unfold with depth, meaning, and often wonder. In sensing the patterns of guidance and the weight of our choices, the mind finds itself drawn to the signs, nudges, and synchronicities lighting the way. Signs, intuition, and guidance. Often, life whispers first, then speaks. A fleeting thought, a song that suddenly repeats, or the appearance of a symbol at the exact moment of decision can carry meaning beyond what the mind immediately perceives. These subtle nudges are the language of the soul, offering insight without force, guidance without insistence. Ancient oracles understood this well. In civilizations long past, diviners and seers interpreted signs from nature, the stars, or the behavior of birds to illuminate life paths. The message was always clear. Pay attention, for the universe and the soul communicates in ways that require stillness to hear. Intuition is the bridge between the conscious self and the soul's quiet direction. It appears as a feeling, a hesitation, or an impulse that defies conventional logic, yet proves true when followed. Taoist principles describe alignment and flow as essential to harmony. The way moves effortlessly when one is attuned to the currents around them. Life's signs operate similarly. When we notice them, when we align our awareness with the subtle cues of circumstance and insight, movement feels natural. Obstacles become guideposts, coincidences reveal patterns, and decisions gain clarity through a resonance that feels right, not forced. Even subtle hesitations, a gut feeling to pause or proceed, are part of this language, signaling that the soul is inviting reflection before action. Sometimes signs are externalized in relationships, objects, or repeated encounters. A friend who unexpectedly offers advice, a stranger who mentions a name or place that keeps surfacing, or a sequence of events that seems almost orchestrated. These are not mere coincidences. Each may serve as a signal, a gentle suggestion that the path chosen before birth is still alive, still guiding. The soul does not dictate every action, but it provides markers, subtle hints that encourage attention and reflection. Recognizing these is an act of trust, a willingness to acknowledge the dialogue between intention and experience. Dreams, too, often carry guidance. They are a mirror for the subconscious, a space where the soul can speak with fewer restrictions than waking life allows. Images, symbols, and scenarios that emerge in sleep can reveal unresolved questions, point toward decisions, or highlight lessons that require conscious engagement. Like the oracles interpreting the movement of shadows or smoke, the attentive mind can discern meaning in patterns, linking the unseen threads of the soul's map with tangible choices in the waking world. Synchronicity is another tool of communication. Carl Jung coined the term to describe events that are meaningfully coincidental, where inner intention and outer circumstance intersect with uncanny timing. The soul's guidance often manifests in such moments. A phone call from someone you were just thinking about, a book that contains the exact answer you need, an unexpected turn that confirms a choice. These alignments are not random. They are a subtle confirmation that the path is unfolding as intended, and that free will is being exercised in harmony with pre-birth intent. Paying attention to these signs cultivates a kind of dialogue with life itself. It encourages observation, patience, and reflection. The more we notice patterns, the more we see the orchestration behind events that might otherwise appear chaotic. The Taoist idea of effortless action, hu wei, applies here. Guidance is not about forcing the current, but flowing with it, noticing where the water carries you, and adjusting with awareness rather than struggle. The soul's instructions are often gentle. They require only that we remain receptive and conscious. Over time, recognizing these nudges trains the mind to differentiate between random chance and intentional guidance, sharpening intuition and deepening trust in the unseen currents of life. Ordinary moments can hold deep significance when observed. A repeated phrase in conversation, a number that keeps appearing, or a sudden insight in the midst of confusion can all be nudges from the deeper self. The soul speaks through the ordinary as well as the extraordinary, turning life itself into a canvas of subtle instruction. As awareness grows, one begins to sense that the pattern of guidance is continuous, shaping decisions and revealing meaning in the seemingly mundane. Learning to trust these whispers and follow the currents of intuition, the next layer of the soul's design emerges, the recurring lessons and patterns that echo across lives, waiting to be recognized, understood, and integrated. Remembering the bigger picture. At times, life appears as a series of fragments, moments, encounters, and choices that feel isolated or confusing. Yet when viewed through the lens of the soul, these fragments are threads woven into a continuous tapestry. Each event, no matter how mundane or intense, carries significance in the broader design of existence. Plato suggested that the soul carries knowledge from before birth, and life itself is a process of recollection, of remembering what the self once knew in its original unbroken state. Through reflection, we begin to perceive the hidden connections that bind experiences together, revealing purpose behind the chaos. Meditation is one of the bridges to this understanding. In stillness, the mind quiets, and the constant chatter of daily life recedes, allowing the subtler currents of consciousness to surface. Patterns that were previously invisible begin to emerge. Decisions that once seemed impulsive reveal themselves as part of a larger rhythm. Mystics who have recounted near-death experiences often describe a panoramic view of their lives, perceiving the lessons, relationships, and challenges not as accidents, but as integral threads woven to cultivate growth, understanding, and compassion. In these moments, the soul's intentions are illuminated, and the broader picture comes into focus. Reflection can also take place in everyday life. Pausing after a conflict, revisiting a choice that caused discomfort, or considering the recurring patterns in relationships, all offer insight into the soul's ongoing guidance. Life is less a series of mistakes or coincidences than it is a dialogue with the self, where each interaction carries the potential to teach, correct, or affirm. Awareness transforms ordinary events into signposts pointing back to pre-birth intentions. It is as though each experience carries a whisper, urging recognition of the larger narrative, a reminder that the threads of life are continuous, not fragmented. Even small moments of recognition, a thought, a feeling, or a realization, can act as threads reconnecting us to the soul's original vision, revealing how each decision and encounter contributes to the larger tapestry. All suffering has its place in the grander scheme. Challenges that once seemed cruel or meaningless begin to reveal their role in the soul's journey when we step back to see the interconnected web of events. Patterns emerge, not as punishment, but as lessons carefully selected before incarnation to foster empathy, courage, and understanding. Plato described the soul's path as a process of remembering truths that were once fully known but become obscured in the realm of material experience. Every trial, every joy, every encounter becomes a point of reflection, an opportunity to reconnect with the continuity of the self and the broader design of existence. Journaling, contemplation, or even quiet walks in nature can amplify this recollection. Observing the subtle rhythms of life, the repetition of symbols, recurring circumstances, or the unfolding of relationships reveals a subtle orchestration. The soul communicates through these threads, guiding attention toward patterns that might otherwise remain hidden. When awareness is cultivated, the distinction between coincidence and intentional design begins to fade. Life starts to feel less like a series of disconnected events and more like a living map, each moment carrying meaning and alignment with the soul's original purpose. Awareness also encourages gentle forgiveness, both of oneself and others. Recognizing the continuous thread allows mistakes to be seen in the context of growth rather than failure. Relationships, choices, and challenges are no longer merely obstacles. They are integral to the story the soul chose to experience. Near-death accounts often highlight this perspective. Individuals report seeing the ripple effects of their actions, understanding how even small decisions shape the journey, and sensing the interconnectedness of all experiences. This awareness nurtures compassion, patience, and a sense of responsibility for the unfolding path. The bigger picture also invites curiosity. Life becomes a puzzle, whose pieces are revealed gradually, often through reflection and attention to patterns. By looking beyond immediate outcomes, one begins to notice synchronicities, recurring lessons, and the subtle alignment of events that hint at a deeper orchestration. Each recognition strengthens trust in the soul's guidance and encourages a conscious engagement with life. It is a process of remembering not just the map, but the intention, the purpose, and the awareness that each moment is part of a grander design. The deeper this awareness becomes, the more the mind questions how the threads of lessons, choices, signs, and reflections can be integrated into a fully lived life, revealing the ultimate purpose of the journey. Living with soul awareness. Living with soul awareness means caring less about perfection and more about attention. Each choice, each response becomes a chance to align with the path the soul selected before birth. Modern spiritual teachers remind us that conscious living is not about controlling outcomes, but about engaging with life deliberately, noticing where guidance surfaces, and responding with presence rather than habit. Awareness allows us to see the subtle threads connecting challenges, relationships, and opportunities, revealing the hidden intention behind events that once felt random. A parable tells of a gardener who plants seeds with foresight, knowing that not every day will be sunny and not every storm harmful. He waters, tends, and waits patiently, understanding that growth unfolds in its own time. In the same way, the soul asks us to engage with life patiently, cultivating awareness and nurturing choices that reflect the pre-birth intentions. Some seeds sprout immediately, others take years. Some challenges teach resilience, some relationships teach love. What matters is the deliberate care we bring to the garden of our life. Observing guidance in daily life sharpens perception. Synchronicities, fleeting thoughts, or repeated encounters all become tools for conscious navigation. Spiritual teachers often suggest journaling, reflection, and mindful pauses to notice these signals. Over time, small recognitions accumulate, revealing patterns and reminding us that we're not drifting blindly. The mind begins to see decisions, reactions, and encounters as pieces of a larger tapestry, and living with this awareness fosters a sense of intentionality that transforms routine into practice. Even the pauses between decisions hold meaning, as they allow the soul's subtle guidance to surface and inform the next step. Challenges, when approached with awareness, shift from obstacles into teachers. A moment of tension, a difficult conversation, a personal setback, all are opportunities to practice patience, empathy, and discernment. The gardener does not resent the storms, he learns from them. Similarly, the soul-designed challenges of life are not punishments, but invitations to engage more fully, to expand consciousness, and to integrate lessons that were always part of the journey. By embracing what arises, we honor the choice the soul made before birth. Relationships take on new depth when approached with awareness. Friends, mentors, family, and even casual acquaintances serve as mirrors, reflecting parts of ourselves that require attention. By observing reactions and acknowledging the lessons each person brings, we deepen empathy and foster meaningful connections. Spiritual teachers emphasize that nurturing these relationships consciously is not about changing others, but about recognizing the soul's intent behind every encounter and responding with presence, compassion, and integrity. Even ordinary daily habits become avenues for alignment. Choosing kindness, listening fully, or taking deliberate pauses between action and reaction creates openings for intuition to guide us. Awareness amplifies the subtle, otherwise overlooked currents of life. The gardener tends not only to visible growth, but also to the soil beneath, unseen yet essential. Likewise, living with soul awareness asks attention to the inner life, the thoughts, impulses, and intentions that ultimately shape how the soul's plan unfolds through daily choices. Acts of gratitude, reflection, and mindful observation serve as tools for deepening alignment, reminding us that the small choices often carry the greatest impact. Integration also involves embracing uncertainty. The soul's plan provides guidance, but it does not dictate every step. Moments of hesitation, doubt, or fear are not failures. They are part of the unfolding. By observing them, reflecting, and choosing with consciousness, the individual collaborates with the soul rather than resisting or ignoring its direction. The more attention we give to these moments, the more life becomes a dialogue, a conscious co-creation where intention meets experience and presence meets purpose. By noticing how personal habits, routines, and reactions shape the unfolding of life, we begin to see ourselves as active participants in a co-created tapestry rather than passive observers. To live with soul awareness is to embrace a continual curiosity. Every day offers opportunities to notice guidance, embrace challenges, and nurture connections with intention. Each reflection, each mindful choice, each acknowledgement of subtle signs strengthens alignment with the path the soul chose. Life becomes less about achieving a final destination and more about participating fully in the ongoing journey, where awareness transforms experience into understanding and presence transforms learning into living. Each day unfolding brings choices, guidance, and lessons interwoven as the journey quietly continues, calling the soul forward with awareness and wonder. Thank you for journeying with us today. If this sparked your curiosity, subscribe and join our community as we explore the hidden threads of life together.